My post-traumatic stress disorder is to look at the world through the lens of threat. It's to be afraid sometimes of just leaving the house. It's to be afraid of everyone I see on the road. It's to fear for my family even if there's no threat anymore.
It's a variety of things that make me feel like I'm not functioning, that I'm far from functioning optimally. Brain fog. You get up in the morning and you're completely disconnected. Through feeling constant caution. A lack of sleep. For several years, I slept 3 to 4 hours a night.
I got to where I was ready to get all possible treatment. But I didn't believe that I could get some sort of relief from something as simple as a shot.
A block to the nervous system with a simple shot in the neck. That's what Josh and Roy went through, along with several hundred other patients in Israel so far. At least 80% of them are walking among us today with almost no post-traumatic symptoms, much calmer and functional. SGP is the most innovative and effective treatment that the Israeli public still don't know about.
The doctor in the United States who invented the method was an American doctor, a doctor of pain, whose practice originated in Chicago, where he had a female patient to whom he gave a shot because of pain, because of a frozen shoulder, because of some shoulder pain which immobilized the joint. After a few weeks, she came back to him to tell him, "I want you to know I was raped in high school, and since then I've had very bad PTSD, but the PTSD symptoms have passed." And so the doctor started checking the story and eventually understood that the mind is connected to the body by nerves which have, let's call them intersections, junction points. In the upper neck area, it's these ganglia, which, when their activity is stopped, when you stop nerve transmission from the brain down and from bottom up, you do a reset to part of the system called the limbic system in the brain.
This treatment reached Israel thanks to a young Australian who immigrated to Israel out of Zionism, enlisted in an elite IDF unit. There, he met Dr. Israelit and was also exposed for the first time in his life to post-trauma.
Suddenly, a friend who I trained with before the army decided he couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. And I'm starting to understand that it's not only the price the person pays. It also concerns families, communities, the entire country. I encountered it fully. Then after the army, somehow I felt that as a combatant, no one spoke to us in 2010, 2011 about post-trauma, about what happens after missions. And I took on a project so there would be more awareness here in Israel. I started making a connection with people my age, but it demanded a lot from me. Then I discovered this treatment.
They meet with a doctor and got going with the worldwide Stella company. And although it's a very simple treatment, the medical community was divided at first between those who objected to this presidential practice and those who saw the results with their own eyes.
The first suffered from PTSD since childhood. I said to her, "Look, I want to try the treatment." And she got through it. She called the next day and said, "First time in my life I slept, I opened my eyes, and the world didn't attack me." This really impressed me. And I saw something which I had not seen in treatments until then. I mean, people are starting to relax, and when they relax, they are able to speak differently, to relate differently. Sometimes it's relating differently to other family members, and they begin repairing their life.
For me, since the injection, the number of my triggers, what makes it difficult for me on a daily basis, has decreased. I feel more at ease using public transport. To the gymboree with my daughter, I managed to get out of the house and do things in public. Before, there were things I would avoid at any price. It gave me freedom to try and look forward and not just try to survive the day.
On the one hand, it sounds like a dream. On the other hand, I said, hold on, something here. I don't like being sold such shortcuts. I started reading, I started checking. And in one of the podcasts I listened to, they interviewed a doctor. She's an extraordinary person. She spoke of this extraordinary treatment, a breakthrough for post-trauma, anxiety, chronic stress, and she's a real doctor. in my opinion, in the top 10 in the world in her understanding of PTSD. I made contact with the doctor from the podcast. It might sound crazy to you, that's what I wrote to her. It might sound crazy, but what do you think? Come to Israel and help us.
Hey Roy, so nice to get your message. Hi. We're currently in Kenya.
Dr. Allison Mulcahy was excited by the appeal and asked to help in any way.
Stellates have such potential to shift humanity. Like in terms of all of the different, I've done so many different treatments and the bang for the buck is by far the biggest I've seen. They're amazing. In a place like Israel, it's like there's trauma being embedded in everyone's DNA right now. There's so much trauma in their body, but it's also generational. When our bodies are in fear, when our nervous systems are ramped up, we can't heal. We're just trying to survive the next 5 minutes. And what's happening in Israel and in a lot of places is the sympathetic nervous system is way up here and the parasympathetic is here. And so what this treatment does basically is brings it back into balance. So imagine like right now you're on your computer. If you open up too many apps on your computer, what is eventually going to happen? If you open too many things, what happens on your computer? It freezes, right? You can try and shut things down, but eventually you have to reboot your computer, right? If you imagine that your nervous system right now is a clay pot, you can't mold it anymore. It's like you can break it or it is how it is. And what psychedelics can do is kind of turn it back to a moldable clay, and then the stellate can mold it into something different.
It has such a high chance of making such an optimal change. So, especially after October 7th, we all needed to stand in line to be referred there.